like that, and then try to box it in a safe manner. It was just so dangerous.
And again, we didn't know, and I'm sure law enforcement didn't know either, what if that driver was armed. How desperate was that person? You know, clearly desperate enough to go head on into an innocent person's vehicle while trying to get away, crashing into law enforcement. And then there was also that appearing to be taunting the officers, almost coming to a stop a couple times on the freeway, allowing officers to get close enough, but then trying to drive off, playing that weird game of cat and mouse. So, you know, in the end, this is how it came to an end. Sad to say, there is a lot of damage, probably some minor injuries, but again, I believe that this is probably, you know, one of the best outcomes. You know, nobody's passed away. There's no fatality or risk, you know, or critical injury. Everybody's up walking around, and that suspect in custody. You know, the people who are going to really suffer this morning are the people on the 405 freeway. Let's just take a quick peek. I know we're not doing traffic yet, but wow, look at that. I mean, that line of headlights is all the way down to the Fox Hills Mall. So if the 405 northbound is your drive this morning, definitely plan, you know, maybe the 110 or try to get around this any other way.
If you're watching this right now and you're going to be heading there, and maybe you can work remotely today. It's a Friday, you might as well.
Also, speaking of an LA person, Stu Mundel calling it the Fox Hills Mall. I appreciate that. Listen, you know, we keep saying that it looked like the driver of that white van was taunting the officers, because that is exactly what it looked like. Many instances, it didn't even look like, obviously, we have no idea what was going through this driver's mind, but we can tell you what we saw. And at many points in this, it didn't seem like the driver of the white van was trying to get away from officers. It seemed like the driver was, you know, somewhat doing donuts, swerving around, kind of staying in the mix with the officers as they were doing whatever they could to try and stop this van from continuing the wrong way through traffic. It was just some of the most shocking things that I've ever seen. At the beginning of this driver hitting officers' cruisers. It was shocking, Stu.
Yeah, definitely. And usually when there's that type of aggression towards the officers, that's when we see more officers deployed. That's probably one of the reasons why they allowed 10 vehicles in that pursuit. And also, it also gives you that idea of what's going through this person's mind. If you're attacking officers, it definitely is that person wants some sort of confrontation or some sort of violence, and that actually, you know, the law enforcement, they actually have to take a step back. Even though they're being attacked, they have to take a step back mentally and kind of just realize what's going on, try to assess that situation, stay as professional as they can, and they did. It was the restraint with the officers that got out of the cars to take that suspect into custody. You know, from just, again, like you said, what we see was amazing. There was no, there wasn't that instant use of less than lethal force. There was a weapon pointed, but I do not think it was deployed. And then other officers basically just came up, and there was actually an officer still talking to that that suspect.
We want to go to actually down on the ground there. We actually have, we believe, one of the victims there. Can you tell us which car you were in, and what did you see?
So I was in that black GTI right over there.
You got out of there.
And I got out of there real fast, because you can see the driver's side door is pinned against my door. And when that van came to a stop, I wasn't sure who was inside, what they were going to do, if they were going to come out and try and steal my car or attack me, or if they were armed. So I immediately jumped out of my car and came over here to the shoulder and just waited while the police apprehended that suspect.
What is your name, sir? Where were you headed? And tell us what you saw. You're parked there on the freeway. Did the officers stop you, and then you saw this vehicle coming in your direction?
So yeah, my name's David Hill. I was on my way to work in Thousand Oaks. Initially, what had happened is traffic had came to a complete stop as the police car on the freeway was weaving left and right to get everybody to stop. And we were stopped for about 10 to 15 seconds. Then out of nowhere, this white van just came careening into us. And it hit a car in front of me. That car took the initial impact, I would say, and I was more of a secondary impact, and it kind of just hit my car and scraped the side and went into the truck next to me.
And
it happened so fast. It was incredible.
It was pretty scary just to watch. I can't imagine being there. You know, I imagine you did not know why all of the cars around you were stopped when you all had to really stop in traffic there on the freeway. But can you tell me what was going through your mind when you did realize, just as quickly as it happened, what was going on? You see these lights coming in the wrong direction.
Yeah, you know, I really didn't have a whole lot of time to react, to be honest. It was terrifying just to see a car coming at me, and the sounds and the impact of the accident was alarming. And again, I just reacted for my own safety and just got out of the car as quick as I could once the car came to a stop, because again, I didn't know what that suspect, what they wanted, what they were doing, what they were being chased for, any of that stuff. So,
we're actually looking at the video, David, and I think later on you're going to be able to see this. And you know, you're just fortunate that that car didn't, that van rather, didn't collide with you head on. It sort of swiped the front of your vehicle there, and then we see you jumping out. And really quickly, right after that, I mean, I know it happened so fast, but did you get a look at the driver, and, like, you know, after you got out of the vehicle, what did you see?
Initially, from the side of the road, I could see it was a white female, late 20s maybe. She appeared to be on drugs. She was kind of screaming, yelling. She actually got out of the van and jumped onto the hood of that semi-truck that's next to me. And then I believe she was apprehended on the other side of that truck.
You know, I got to tell you, you never know what you would do in a situation like this, and so kudos to you on quick thinking. It was clear to get away from this person driving this van. I just have to ask, you know, are you okay?
Yeah. I'm a little shaken, I'll be honest, but physically I've sustained no injuries. I'm okay in that regard, but I think it's the trauma from this is probably going to affect me for longer than I think I suspect. But
we can only imagine.
I'm physically okay at the moment. Yeah.
We're so grateful that you're okay physically, and we know that you've got to be shaken up there. And yeah, we can imagine that there's going to be some trauma that you're going to be dealing with in the days to come. We really appreciate you talking with us this morning on Good Day LA. Again, we're just really glad you're okay.
Yeah, so glad you're okay.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, sending things up to Stu. Just as we, you know, it's coming up on 6 o'clock this morning. Stu, can you just give us a little bit of recap on what you saw this morning, what we all saw this morning?
Well, I don't actually know if we're actually going to play any tape, but I can tell you definitely what we saw this morning. SkyFOX getting up a little early because of this pursuit. We made our way over that Sepulveda Pass Hill, and we were listening to this chase. It was on the streets, and the LAPD talking about 10 vehicles, 10 officers allowed in that pursuit. That kind of gave me a clue that this was something a little different than what we usually see. That van was on surface streets when we took off, but by the time we got over the hill, that van was just making its way onto that 405 freeway, and then those speeds really started to pick up. We could see it in a distance making its way northbound as SkyFOX was coming southbound. LAPD in pursuit, a number of vehicles, that number being 10 as I just mentioned, but they continue chasing that van that you see right there. Now it made its way past Sunset Boulevard, and that's when things really started getting strange. That van kind of staying near Big Rigs, slowing down, almost coming to a stop a couple of times. LAPD, they're seeing this opportunity and trying to do that pit maneuver. I don't know what's inside that van, but I would venture to say it is loaded down, probably a couple of 1,000 pounds worth of van right there, because when the LAPD vehicles were making contact with the back of that van, it barely moved at all. The actual vehicles themselves, the LAPD vehicles themselves were sustaining more damage than that actual van. In the end, we understand 4 of the officers were actually being treated for injuries, the LAPD officers, from this pursuit, most of them probably from collisions with that van during the chase. But things really got bad when there was actually a U-turn, and this van started going south in the northbound lanes, and then LAPD, what they were doing was they were stopping that northbound traffic farther down the freeway, very far down the freeway. We're almost at Wilshire, and that was because they wanted to get the public in a safe spot where LAPD could do what they needed to do, but that van making that U-turn brought the danger to the public. They made their way through that LAPD line, colliding with a vehicle that was in the front of the line, that silver one, practically a head-on collision. You can see all that damage right there. Thank goodness that driver was basically almost not injured, up and walking around as soon as they got out, but that was not before LAPD got out there. That driver got out of the vehicle, did some grandstanding, and then the LAPD showing a lot of restraint and basically talking that person off of the vehicle and taking them into custody. Then, of course, everybody was checking out all the people that were injured, and right now, this is all happening on that 405 freeway. This is northbound right past Wilshire. You can imagine what's going on with the traffic, but boy, oh boy.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah, so traffic is down to what appears to be one lane. I'm sure that the morning commute is just going to be awful for so many people. Side streets only if you have that option. Look at that. Lights as far as the eye can see. Stu, this has got to be one of the wildest police chases in recent Southern California history.
Definitely, it's going to be up there as probably one of the wildest that we've seen in the longest amount of time. Definitely one of the ones that racked up the most damage. Thank goodness that the injuries, I'm sure there are probably some minor injuries involved. You know, we hear that there's at least 4 officers being treated by LA City Fire Department and being taken to local hospitals from their cruisers, not from this location. And then you've got the 2 people that were in those cars that were slammed into by that driver, and then of course that suspect probably having some injuries as well. But it was just a crazy pursuit this morning. I can actually see now that you're playing some of that tape from earlier on. That's all on the 405 freeway. You have to really kind of bring that into mind. These people are just trying to go to work, and here's this van just moving along at a great clip, heading right towards so many of these other cars. Some people actually in the frame of mind to back up, and we had that interview with that guy in that black GTI. He basically, the reaction time right there was amazing. Right after that crash, that passenger door popping open because he couldn't get out the driver's side and just jumping out to safety. This is going to be something that some of these folks that are involved here are probably going to be talking about for months to come.
Oh, no doubt about it. Talking about it and feeling the impact of the trauma that they experienced this morning. The thing that was really wild, Stu, and watching as I was getting ready to come on is the number of, look at that, going full speed into those cars you're seeing on the right side of your screen. Yeah. But it was the number of pit maneuvers that the police employed, and the suspect still didn't stop.
Yeah, Melvin, I venture to say, this is one of the ones, we just don't know. But if that van was empty, it definitely is a work van. But if that van was empty, that rear end would have just spun around, when they made contact. I'm venturing to say that that thing is loaded down with a lot of tools. I don't know what kind of construction that van is used for, but I've
PTI just moments ago, David Hill, who said he was traveling to work in Thousand Oaks, and we saw him, you know, get hit by the van and then have the wherewithal to open the passenger door and get out of the car.
Well, yeah, there's a number of factors you have to consider, right? You don't know what that... we apparently have a victim who's actually standing by, ready to talk.
That's the guy from the silver car.
Go to this
the gentleman
person.
from the silver car.
Yeah, that's the driver from the silver car.
Good morning. Hi, can you tell us?
Right now,
Good morning, sir. Can you tell us your name?
Talk to us about what happened. Where were you?
I was right behind the police vehicle when the vehicle come and went around us. But the police blocked the road straight across. They said I just put the people on the side. I make the guy, the girl, or whosoever go by. He's blocked everything.
And what vehicle were you in?
That's that girl right there.
I noticed that you have blood all over your face. Your tooth is chipped. Is this from the accident?
Yeah.
So, did you see the car coming towards you and it flipped you? Talk to us about what you experienced.
Well, the car was coming, I don't know what to say.
Was it coming fast or?
Well, man, I don't want to put no blame. The way it happened, it never have to happen this way.
Are you still in shock right now? Talk to us about what you're thinking about.
Well, I'm not in shock now because I don't believe this will happen like this. Because where the police should do would pull everybody on the side instead of let everybody line across the road. He got everybody
Pursuit from the onset. Gigi, good morning to you.
And this car coming towards.
Gigi?
That driver, can you hear me?
Hi, Gigi.
Melvin
Good morning.
And Jen?
Hi.
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Hi, good morning. I'm just watching in awe with you. Thank God that we're watching that driver just being able to speak to us. That could have ended so much worse. And we wanted to take you back because we all saw what happened at the end. The wonderful camera work, Stu Mundel, our SkyFOX crew, and of course our photographer Armando Hernandez on the ground there on the 405 freeway. There you're seeing it. If you hadn't seen it before, this is how tragically this ended. And we say tragic because obviously now these people have to have their cars repaired. A lot of folks are late, and no one wanted it to end this way. But let's take you back to about 4:45 this morning when this all started in the Venice area. That's when an LAPD Pacific Patrol unit reported that the female driver in this work van had hit their patrol car, crashed into it on purpose. And that's when they went into pursuit on Lincoln in the Venice area, asking for backup. At the Whole Foods parking lot at Lincoln and Rose for a minute, it appeared she was going to stop and give up, but nope, she was just messing with them. She kept on driving, all the while hanging out the driver's side window, screaming something. At one point, appearing to taunt police officers, she actually stopped and drove by the Santa Monica Police Department. And then at Ocean and Chautauqua, she actually is accused of causing an LAPD officer to lose control of their black and white and crash. An ambulance was sent to treat those officers as the pursuit continued through the streets of Venice, Santa Monica, and West LA. Now, on Santa Monica Boulevard, she actually at one point positioned herself behind an LAPD SUV, and she began pursuing it, speeding down the street, chasing police. And multiple times we saw her put the van in reverse and at a high speed try to hit the officers that were behind her, forcing them to put it in reverse too, Melvin and Jen. And before the head-on crash on the 405 freeway, one of the most tense moments that we saw was when she tried stopping an MTA bus who was traveling at Santa Monica and Bundy in West LA. She appeared at times that she was going to crash right into it. That Metro driver keeping their cool, and somehow, again, as it appeared she was trying to hit the bus, at times it looked like she was going to do a pit maneuver on the bus. That driver managed to avoid her, and then she just kept on going. 45 minutes after this all started, it ended with that horrific head-on crash on the 405 freeway. She just slammed into those cars. She appeared, and we have some great ground video of her. I don't know if we have that queued up where we can take a better look, because often we don't get to see the people that are behind the wheel, but we got a very good look at this suspect. She appeared to either be under the influence or having some type of mental health crisis, but she has been taken by LA City Fire paramedics. She will be taken to a hospital to be checked out for her injuries. She was bleeding. It appeared she hit her face, possibly on the steering wheel or earlier in one of the many times that she crashed into police cars. Just a short while ago, we had an LAPD ask for help. His patrol car was stuck in the middle of the 405 freeway, inoperable because she had also crashed into it. So when all is said and done, we're going to see a lot of loss for the LAPD and their patrol cars, a lot of injured officers, and obviously these poor civilians that were caught up in all of this.
It was quite the scene this morning, Gigi, and we just heard before you from one of the victims who was in the gray vehicle. And as you can imagine, the shock that he must have experienced, because where could they go? You see this van coming full speed. There's nowhere for any of them to go, and you just have to brace for impact.
These are split-second decisions, and LAPD did call the California Highway Patrol, and they did a traffic break trying to protect these people as she was driving the wrong way down the freeway. They had hoped that a pit maneuver would have stopped her. We saw several failed pit maneuvers. Of course, that is a very heavy-duty work van up against one of those cars. It caused her to spin out, but it did not stop, which usually those pit maneuvers are designed to disable the engine, and we often see suspects not able to go any farther, but unfortunately that was not the case here. You had California Highway Patrol throughout the 405 freeway waiting for her also to do a pit maneuver, and unfortunately we saw the head-on crash. No regard for anyone, and again we watched as she purposely would put this van in reverse, trying to hit the police cars that were behind her. At times, she turned the tables on police, and she became the leader of the pursuit as she chased a black and white down Santa Monica Boulevard. I mean, we have never seen anything like that. That black and white actually having to speed away from her to avoid being hit, being rear-ended by her. So she really turned the tables at times, and we saw some great driving by police officers also who were behind her at times when she would put it in reverse, and at a high speed she would just run, just go down backwards, down Colby, down Purdue. These are all streets in West LA. These are residential streets. All of this happening at about 5 a.m. So thankfully there weren't a lot of people on the roads. There weren't a lot of people in the street when all of this was happening.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're looking at this from above. I cannot even imagine, as you take a look right now at the driver, at the suspect. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine being on the ground like that, right? And not knowing what was happening when you see the entire freeway being blocked off and you have no idea what's coming.
And Jen, you can see there, that is the suspect. She is obviously injured. She has blood all over her teeth and her mouth and her face. Earlier. But it's worth noting she never stopped. Yes, this is earlier when she was taken into custody, and she didn't give up easy because, as you saw, not only did she crash head-on into the car, she then got on the roof of that white work van, and then she got on the windshield of one of those trucks that was trying to get by. All of those trucks now stuck with their cargo there. And you can see she's bleeding, and it's worth noting she almost never stopped talking. Unclear exactly what she was saying, if she was coherent or not, but you can see her, she just never stopped talking, even though it's clear that she was injured.
You also had, did have a number of officers who did sustain some injury. Is that accurate?
Yes, we do. One LAPD cruiser right at the beginning of the pursuit. She caused him, unclear if she put it in reverse once again, as she did multiple times that we saw, but she did cause him to lose control and crash. An ambulance was en route to treat that officer, most likely two officers, since LAPD usually has two officer cars. They were being treated. Multiple officers reported being injured as she just on purpose, and you could hear their voices. She would, they were asking, officer needs help. She just rammed into me on purpose. She just crashed her van into us. And this was just happening for almost 45 minutes this morning.
Quite the damage that she left in her wake, and I have to commend the officers who were on scene apprehending her, because I mean, the adrenaline gets going. You don't know what is going to be happening next. I mean, it's a split-second kind of thing that officers are up against, and for them to maintain their calm and their composure in that actual arrest is pretty remarkable.
That's right. And on the van's door, we're trying to get a better look, but on the passenger door, it appears, at least from our viewpoint, our vantage point earlier, it looked like it said something like 24-hour emergency. This is some kind of a work van. At no point did they say it was stolen. They had a clear view of the license plate. The officers in pursuit were calling that plate in to dispatch. At no time did they say it was stolen. It may turn out, many cars and vans are stolen overnight, and the owners don't even know it until they wake up in the morning. But it did not appear to be stolen earlier. And what this work company, but boy, did she cause an emergency this morning.
Oh, my goodness. And if you're just joining us, everybody, it was a really wild police pursuit ending in West LA on the 405 North. But it started, Gigi, just after 5 a.m. on the west side. Could you just give us the nuts and bolts?
It actually started... Right. It started in the Venice area at about 4:45 this morning. Now, at that point, it appears that LAPD Pacific patrol officers saw the van driving erratically, and they were about to stop it when suddenly it looks like she put it in reverse and crashed into them on purpose. And that's when that car, it was not disabled, was able to go in pursuit. He reported, that officer, that LAPD Pacific officer, reported he was in pursuit of an assault with a deadly weapon suspect. And when dispatch asked what had happened, what the crime was, he said the deadly weapon was that white van, and that he had crashed, that the female driver had crashed into his patrol car. He was still able to move, and that's when surrounding agencies started getting into this pursuit. She spent a good amount of time in Santa Monica, at one point appearing to taunt Santa Monica officers by almost stopping right in front of the police department, their headquarters there. She drove through Venice, through West LA. This, of course, all before she got on the 405 freeway, and it was on Santa Monica Boulevard that we saw her pursuing a black and white at a very high speed. She was chasing those police officers down, and of course they had no choice. They didn't want to be hit. They want to avoid not getting hurt, obviously, so they had to speed away from her, and it was another type of pursuit. So 45 minutes that this went on, Melvin and Jen.
Yeah, 45 minutes coming to a violent end.
Yes.
Gigi, we're going to take a break, and then we'll be live back with team coverage of one of the most dangerous police pursuits that we have seen in recent Southern California history. We're coming right back. 624, back with that breaking news in the 405 North. Stu, what do we know now?
Well, I can tell you this is where it all came to an end, that wild pursuit ending with that head-on collision out here in the 405 freeway. This is going to be in the northbound lanes, that van going southbound, and we've heard it so many times already. LAPD had stopped traffic to keep people safe, and that first vehicle in that line of stopped traffic was that silver car right there. That van, that's the suspect vehicle, collides with it head-on, and then that pretty much, this is where it came to an end. But right now, I can tell you, tow trucks are here. LAPD, they're starting to do their final wrap-up of all that paperwork, the drive. Well, if you're going to take that 405 this morning, it's going to be a tough one. I would say stay away from the northbound 405, especially through Brentwood. But let's talk about that wild chase. SkyFOX getting up overhead pretty much as soon as that van got onto that 405 freeway. There were high speeds in the beginning, not that much traffic on that 405 freeway at that time in the morning. LAPD, 10 vehicles in pursuit of that van, clearly heavy and loaded. The LAPD trying to do pit maneuvers. There was a wide open spots out there, but they weren't able to because that van's so heavy. After several collisions with an LAPD vehicle into the back of that van, that one LAPD vehicle, that whole front end just kind of gave out. But that van making that fatal U-turn, driving southbound on that northbound lanes, getting through that little bit of a barricade out there. Those innocent drivers, most of the time when you see it stop like that, it's because they're trying to clear some debris. This time, a van came rushing down that freeway, causing that head-on collision. Again, no serious injuries out here this morning, but you can see that's going to be a problem for the drive. I'm Stu and SkyFOX. Back to you all in the studio.
All right, Stu, thank you very much. We're going to take a short break, everybody.